If you had to produce for a general viewer one piece of evidence which says, yes, evolution is how we got here and how we developed, what would it be?
I think nowadays it would be something that Darwin himself knew nothing about, which is molecular genetics. Because if you compare the genes of any living creature you like with any other living creature you like, you find large numbers of the genes are the same, or nearly the same, but the differences between them, which you can actually count, literally count the differences, are exactly what you'd expect if we had a hierarchical family tree. So if you take close cousins like rats and mice or humans and chimpanzees, almost all their genes are the same. If you take distant cousins like humans and cabbages, they've still got a lot of genes in common, but many, many of them are different. And it all falls on a beautiful family tree of cousinship.
But the problem really is that because of the time span, people can't see natural selection happening.
That's right. It is a process that takes orders of magnitude longer than a human lifespan, than humans are used to dealing with. And so that is a real problem. It's not as difficult as understanding, say, quantum theory, which really does make formidable demands on the human mind. But the sheer time span is hard to grasp, that's true.
And as I understand it, you are saying this is a scientific process, an automatic process, that there is ultimately no meaning in the evolution of life.
Well, I think that's right. I mean, there's no meaning in the sense that there was no forward planning in it. Nobody sat down and worked it out in advance. It just happened. However, it would be wrong to say that it's random, and I must stress that because it is a very common error. People think, oh, well, if it's not designed, it must be random chance. It isn't random chance either. Natural selection is a supremely non-random process.
Is it survival of the fittest?
Yes. That's just a little phrase that pithily sums it up.
So in that sense, the way we've created our human society, where we look after weaker people, is counter-evolutionary?
Profoundly counter-Darwinian, yes. And thank goodness for that. I mean, I think it's a very good thing that we do live in a rather non-Darwinian society.
So if you believe everything's determined, why have we structured our societies?
Well, I don't believe it's determined in the sense that you can't break away from it. What's happened is that natural selection, evolution, has given us big brains, and our big brains are big enough to rebel against the Darwinian dictates of our heritage.
And where does morality, therefore, come from?
Well, you can make morality out of a mixture of Darwinian heritage, starting off with things like altruism towards kin, towards potential reciprocators, but then it's filtered through long centuries of culture. So now we have moral philosophy, political philosophy, legal philosophy, the sheer tradition that's built up of being nice to each other and of caring about other people.
And a lot of that has come from religious traditions.
It probably, I mean, some of it might have come, but I think that's possible to exaggerate that. I think that a great deal of the morality that we all share has nothing to do with religion. And you can sort of see that because, for one thing, it's profoundly unbiblical. And for another thing, it changes from decade to decade in a way that doesn't have any connection with religion.
I mean, you are proudly and avowedly atheist.
Yeah, aren't you?
Why is it important? I'm the interviewer, not the... Why is it important, you believe, to have this argument? Because a lot of people would say that in some form religion is a philosophical comfort to people, so why not?
Yes, I mean, philosophical comfort, of course, doesn't make it true. The reason I interjected, aren't you, is that I get a bit fed up with being wheeled out as the atheist, when actually most of the intelligent people you meet are atheist. And I suspect you are too.
You're wooing me in now. Anyway, no, but why is it important to destroy, in your view,
Well, it's not important to destroy anything, but it is important to get at the truth. And so, if you don't want to know the truth, if your comfort zone forbids you to enter what's true, then by all means say, I don't wish to know. If you do wish to know the truth, then
because there is, as you know, at the moment, a scientific school which says that the religious impulse is actually something in our DNA.
Oh, I believe that. But that again,
gullibility is part of our DNA.
That doesn't make it true, of course. Yeah.
But might it make it necessary to have that sort of...
Well, not exactly necessary, because plenty of people manage to do without it. But it is certainly possible that it does give psychological comfort. It gives the reverse as well. I mean, if you look at people who are afraid of dying, if you look at sort of
most
hospitals, you'll find that many of the people who are the most afraid of dying are those who think they're going to hell, or think that they might. Those of us who merely face oblivion have less to fear.
Now, what about, I think you call them the pre-formationalists, I mean, those people who say, well, yes, this wonderful scientific system works, but actually, in some way, it could have been conceived by a superior being. I mean, this was the argument that Goss made back in the 19th century, that as it were, the fossil record and everything else was created by God within 7 days. I mean, that could be true, couldn't it?
Well, it could. I mean, as Bertrand Russell said, it could be true that we all came into existence 5 minutes ago, complete with holes in our socks and hair that needed cutting. There are certain things that you can't actually disprove, but they stretch credulity beyond reason. And so if somebody wants to say, oh yes, the fossils are all planted there by God in order to give the impression that evolution has taken place, that is clearly an argument of desperation.
And what does this belief in evolution, the greatest show on earth, what does it tell us, or can it tell us, about our future as a species, or indeed as a whole ecosystem?
It's difficult to use evolutionary theory to predict the future. You can do it in a general sort of way. I mean, you can say that mass extinction happens from time to time, maybe every 20 million, 30 million years or so. So the long-term future, you can sort of say, well, if you come back in 100 million years' time, it'll probably be very, very different, and almost certainly our descendants won't be here. That you could say. In the shorter term, probably humans are going to go on pretty much the way they are now, as far as their physical form is concerned. But we're clearly evolving in a very different way now, which is cultural evolution.
Are we programmed to evolve to become collectively more intelligent?
I fear not, because in order for that to happen, it'd be necessary that the most intelligent among us are the ones who have the most children.
Now, in your book, you've shown many examples of the wonders of nature, the diversity of life. But in the end, if you follow through your belief, is it all pointless, ultimately?
Well, it's ultimately pointless in the sense that there is no purpose that the universe has for us. I mean, we've come into the universe. But all the more reason to give ourselves a personal purpose, which we can do, and we all, of course, do. And I, and probably you, do have very strong guiding purposes in our lives. And that gives us great comfort, great solace, great cheer. And it doesn't matter that the universe has no ultimate purpose. Make your life purposeful while you've got it.
But science directly doesn't help us with that?
Well,
except the pursuit of it, obviously.
The pursuit of it is clearly a very constructive, a very wonderful thing to do. I mean, to understand why you're here is a very beautiful thing, and it gives my life enormous meaning and purpose.
Professor Dawkins, thank you very much
indeed
for joining us.